We kept the esteemed audience waiting long enough. Amy, Christine, Parker, have you ever seen a flying saucer and or a ghost?
Okay, I have never seen a flying saucer. And when it comes to ghosts, you did say I lived in a haunted house, and you were right. I did. So I never actually saw a ghost. However, I definitely felt ghosts, and I did see things move, and things happened in that house that were undeniably weird and inexplicable. But to give you a scene setup, people always say like, how do people in movies move into haunted houses, right? Who would ever do that? Well, my family did. Because when we went to rent this home, literally like across the street is a graveyard. So, and it's 100-year-old farmhouse that's like kind of dilapidated, right? And we moved in. Like you would think that that would have been all the warning you need. Like this is maybe not the place to live. And it's in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania's notoriously got areas that are haunted because of you've got Valley Forge there and a lot of historical sites where battles happened, and so Gettysburg, places like that. So there are parts of Pennsylvania that are well known to be haunted, right? So you would think they would know because the view from my bedroom window was the graveyard, and it was a two-story house, and I was in, I think, like third grade when we moved in, and it had a lot of land, and there was a big barn in the back. And the thing is, for a kid, it would have been great if it hadn't been haunted because you had this great big barn in the back, and inside the barn was an old horse-drawn carriage sitting in the barn. So, like, how cool is that as a kid to play on that? And then there was a secret passageway from the pantry in the kitchen that led upstairs, which was super cool. But in that house, there was always this prevailing feeling of being watched. So all I could say is like you always felt like someone was staring at you and not in a good way. Like someone was staring at you like they hated you. And I can remember at night I would hear somebody walking up and down the steps, but no one would be in the hallway. So there was always this like you'd hear a step, a step, a step, a step, and then you'd go out there and there's no one in the hall. And then when I would go to sleep, I had this overwhelming feeling of someone crouched next to my bed inches from my face, just staring at me. And so when I would go to bed, I made a deal with myself, like to keep my eyes closed and not open them till morning because I just didn't want to see whatever it was. I'm like, I can live here if I don't see it, which is really kind of crazy. You're like, you can't really defend yourself with your eyes closed, but this was my way of coping. I was in third grade. So I would go to sleep and I would close my eyes and I would just like not open them until morning, but I would feel this thing till I would go to sleep, like staring at me close range to my face. And next to my room was the door that led to the attic, and it would always bounce on the hinges like someone was pounding on it. But like there would be no wind, there was no reason for it to do that. And it had like this iron latch that sort of secured it in place, so it was locked. You had to lift the latch to open the door to go upstairs. But I can remember walking by one day and it literally swung open on its own with no one there. And no wind, it was a sunny day, like middle of the afternoon. And I had just this overwhelming creepy sensation. And I went and hid in my closet. And the whole time I thought, like, I was fully expecting something to creep in there with me because I could feel this presence, is the only way I can describe it. But like, my brother, one night, both his bedroom doors were locked. We couldn't get in. And when we got in, finally, we woke him up and were able to get in. There was a huge piece of plaster from the wall on his pillow that had fallen and like just about hit him in the head. And then later, when he was walking out of the barn another day, like a piece of the barn, the siding, I saw it start to move, and I told him to watch out, and he it literally fell right behind him as he walked out of the barn, and like narrowly missed him. So we had weird things like that would happen, and so that was like a constant. And now, the house has actually been destroyed, and they built a neighborhood over it. So I'd love to know if it's like a poltergeisty thing where people are like, "There's these weird, we have new homes, but yet something's going on." So but yeah, it was really creepy. So we lived there like a year, and a lot of creepy things happened. And I had relatives who came there and like refused to stay in the house because it was so creepy, and like would stay somewhere else. So it was strange, and that was obviously probably pretty formative to me becoming a horror writer.
I would think that would be informative of a lot of things. That was third grade, you said that you were living
Third
there?
grade, yeah.
So do you go forward in life knowing, having some knowledge that, oh, there's definitely some kind of afterlife. I've seen it. I've experienced, well, you didn't see it, you kept your eyes
Right.
closed, but I've experienced it. I know it's there.
Yeah, I think you do. I mean, I think for a long time I was not somebody who would want to buy a house that was older for that reason, because I'm like, that had a history, and if that happened in that house, it could happen again. I don't want to have that happen again. But yeah, I think, a lot of people look at it with skepticism, and I think that's healthy. And I would too. If I hadn't been through it, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But however, having been through it, I know that there was something going on there that wasn't totally explainable. And it was just that dread all the time. And that was really a weird way to live for a period of time because it's just a constant dread you're kind of sitting with. And then, like I said, just things moving, that door opening on its own, that feeling of not being alone. There was a room up in the upstairs that we used to put our ironing board in, but there was no furniture, and that room was just so off-putting that we never put anything in it, and no one ever went in there, and we just left it. So, and when we would run around playing hide and seek, you never went in that room. You would run past it really fast, hoping like whatever was in there was not coming out to get you. So, yeah, I believe 100% because I've had enough unexplainable things happen to me that make me believe it. But I also have a healthy dose of skepticism too. I don't think every place is haunted. I just think some places can be. So
I never understood how the skeptical view is that everybody's wrong. There's no possibility of any kind of ghost. And therefore, the simplest view is all of humanity is crazy. Do, going about my day. Like, hold on.
Exactly. But I will say, I'm not one of those horror writers that hopes that like someone puts me up in a haunted house, like hotel. Not for me. I would rather avoid that.
I think that's just asking for it.
Right?
If the ghost is reading one of your other books, I'm like, oh, I could maybe be acknowledged in the next one. I better go after her hard. Make sure you have a good experience for the book I want to read. Kind of like if people know you're a horror author, and you're like my cousin runs the biggest or second biggest haunted house here in the great state of Indiana.
Oh, cool.
It's an award-winning haunted house. It's Fear Farm. Look it up. It's Sabrina Doolin as she goes by, but it was Sabrina Kemp. Great haunted house, but they know me there, and they know that I write scary stories, so I never go to the Fear Farm.
Oh, they're going to totally come after you. Yeah. I know exactly. Yep, that you're totally target number one.
I'll let you in for free. Oh, it'll cost. Nope, it won't be free.
You're going to try to make me cry, aren't you? Like, that's what I would be thinking.